in several areas of the country, and it's feared South Africans will have to pay more for food if the drought continues to wreak havoc on this year's harvest. Now, the main concern is white maize, which is not only the country's staple, but is also important for the poultry industry. Less maize produced will mean less feed available. Farmers have already indicated that they intend on producing less commercial crops, such as white maize, yellow maize and sorghum, due to the dry conditions. Well, let's get more insight now on the economic implications of this drought. I'm joined by Christo Joubert from National Agricultural Marketing. He's in our Pretoria studios. Christo, good afternoon and thanks for talking to us.
Good afternoon.
Well, firstly, from a crop perspective, how bad is this drought when compared to the one experienced in the country in, let's say, the early 80s and then in the early 90s?
At this stage, it's too early to say. If the drought continues, then we'll probably see the impact a little bit later. What we saw in Mpumalanga, they start planting, but a little bit. Currently, Free State, the Northwest province, we're waiting for rain for them to start planting.
Christo, so it's the white maize here that's the big concern, isn't it? Because that's the feed input for poultry and beef livestock. Is there a risk of a steep food price hike if the rains don't come soon?
Currently, white maize is normally going for human consumption. We're sitting at a nice carry-over stock at this stage, but what we probably will see, or the problems that we will experience, questions that we need to ask is, where will we get white maize from if we cannot produce enough for South Africa? White maize is produced very limited abroad. Countries like America, Mexico, they producing white maize, and then also Zambia, we from where we can get a little bit of white maize from. Yellow maize is normally going into the feed industry for poultry that we can import easily. At this stage, we're looking for this season that we're standing in, that there will probably be 750,000 tons imports of yellow maize already.
All right, so it's the yellow maize that in fact goes into the feed. But what about importing here? I mean, is there enough, let's say, white maize, for example, in the international community for us to sort of get into the country?
That's the big question. Will there be enough produced abroad to bring into South Africa? We experienced in the 83, 84, we experienced that there wasn't enough white maize, and then they start milling yellow maize for the pop, which we use as a staple feed. And I'm not sure if you're going to see that. We must wait and see what's the impact at the end of the drought, especially in our grain-producing areas.
All right, it seems, though, that we are reactionary when it comes to such challenges such as the drought. Do we not have robust disaster management strategies in place here? How would you rate it?
I would say we can do much more. Government is looking at certain initiatives. There is talks around in the SADC region for getting some sort of enough pipeline stock levels in place. But yes, we can do more about that. The other big question that we also need to ask, if we need to import, let's say, 3 million tons of maize, if we're going to have that shortage, how are we going to do it? And is our logistics infrastructure prepared and ready to handle so much imports?
And lastly, Christo, before I let you go, let's just talk about the real deadline we face here, if indeed we do face one. I mean, if the rains do not come by January next year, what are the implications?
Oh, no, much earlier. We need rain by the middle of December at the latest. And then from there on, we need follow-up rains, especially when the maize is in pollination stage. Otherwise, it will also affect dramatically on the yield. So middle of December, 20th of December, I know they always say farmers can plant until the 40th of December, but that have a huge impact on the yield at the end.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there. Thanks very much indeed, Christo Joubert there, talking to us from Pretoria.